So I'd like to officially announce the launch of Nuwait. Nuwait, the platform by the community for the community, a storytelling platform for Nuwait. Before I move to my panelists, I'd like to say a couple of words. We heard from Fadi about why entrepreneurship is important and the imperative of entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship has been something that moved countries, moved cities, moved large institutions. The World Bank once was a small institution. Kuwait once was started by entrepreneurs. Every single thing was started by entrepreneurship. However, the need for entrepreneurship, the imperative, has much more increased in recent years. Recession, unemployment, climate change, and all of things like that made it that it's actually needed. But on the other hand, technology made that's actually possible. It's actually something that could move and change things positively. The ecosystem is made of mutually reinforcing elements. Dr. Zuhair this morning talked about the 6 elements, from policy regulations to human capital to finance to culture development, so on and so forth. And today on this panel, I'm really honored to have with me 4 key players in the project that the fund is going to undertake. So we're going to hear from them what they are doing and how they see things moving, again, tackling those 6 verticals that are in the entrepreneurship ecosystem. So as I make my way back there to my panelists, I'd like, first of all, each of the panelists to give us literally an elevator pitch. 2 minutes, who you are, why you're here, and what is your role in Kuwait? What is your role in the fund? 2 minutes to put some context, and then we'll deep dive in it. And we'll start with you, Ignacio.
Well, thank you very much. My name is Ignacio de la Vega. What I've been doing in the last 25 years is teaching and doing research on entrepreneurship, setting up a few companies, most of them unsuccessful. From those I learned a lot, by the way. Setting up a couple of venture funds and being part of a venture fund now, and working for universities. Today I work for Babson College. Babson is the #1 entrepreneurship college in the world. And I work for Babson Global, which is the international brand of the college. Instead of bringing students into the college to develop entrepreneurship, we take the college to the world to help create entrepreneurs. This is mainly what I do.
And tell us also your role in Kuwait. I mean, the role of Babson and what are you doing here?
Yeah, but that's going to be more than 2 minutes. Okay, I'll try to summarize
in
as
summary,
much as I can.
And I will deep dive later.
We are working with the Kuwait National Fund, and we are exploring alternatives in which we can cooperate, developing a mass training program campaign. I think Fadi was mentioning before that one of the main drivers of entrepreneurial success is talent. And I think this is one of the things that by launching the National Fund, the Kuwait government is trying to address. Not only create talent, but lead talent to additional or different things to what is led today. So this is mainly what I'm doing here. We have a few projects in the region. We're working with Saudi Arabia. We're setting up a university in the King Abdallah Economic City in Keck, and also an entrepreneurship center with Lockheed Martin Endowment. We're working in Lebanon with UK government, the Bank du Liban, in developing an accelerator program for SMEs, which is also something very related to what the National Fund, of course, is doing. We've been working in Abu Dhabi in curriculum development, in Africa, women entrepreneurship, youth entrepreneurship. So we have extensive experience in the region and definitely in some other regions, helping institutions, government, and foundations in developing entrepreneurship.
Thank you. Farhan?
My name is Farhan Kalaldi. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Impact MENA. Impact MENA is a regional advisor and consulting firm established to focus on the challenges faced in the innovation and ecosystem in the Arab world. The founders of the company had actually contributed to establish the first generation of entrepreneurship programs in the Arab world, starting incubators in Egypt in 2001, to Jordan, to Saudi Arabia. So we work usually with governments and universities and non-profit organizations to design and implement entrepreneurship and innovation programs. Our contribution or the collaboration between us and the fund, we are the regional partner for Kaufman Fast Track, which is a well-known capacity building program that was started in the US 20 years ago. Over 350,000 entrepreneurs were trained utilizing the training programs launched by Kaufman Fast Track. The objective of the project with the fund is basically to implement Kaufman Fast Track in Kuwait and to train around 400 entrepreneurs utilizing this amazing capacity building product. The project will involve also organizing around 15 events, networking events in Kuwait, doing mentoring also for around 60 projects, and will involve also national campaigns to create awareness on the opportunities present in entrepreneurship and starting businesses in Kuwait and utilizing the services of the fund.
Thank you, Farhan. Marco.
Thank you very much. I'm Marco Palmini. I'm representing the Italian company Lattanzio Group. We are participating to the implementation here of one of the hubs that have been presented this morning, and specifically the sector of creative industries. Why we are here? Indeed, when we decided to participate to present a proposal to this activity, we were attracted to the challenge of this project and this program, this overall program. The challenge of the country is our own challenge in order to contribute to this overall change of cultural behavior that is very attractive and very interesting to us, and we decided and we hope to contribute to that, apporting and showing the Italian way of excellence in this sector. So we hope to give our contribution, showing what we have able to do, so to support the change processes of countries and societies in the sector of building the new strategies and the new scenarios.
Thank you. Ed?
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Edward Roberto. I am the Vice President of MENA for Techstars. For those of you that don't know Techstars, we are a global accelerator in the ICT space. I've come here to support the partnership that we have with the National Fund to start and operate accelerators, or the accelerator for the ICT vertical. To camp on some of the comments you've heard today, Techstars believes that great entrepreneurs are all across the globe. You don't have to come to Silicon Valley to be a good entrepreneur. So Techstars has decided to build its entire business model on going to where the entrepreneur is located. So as a result, we operate over 24 accelerators across the globe, primarily in the United States, the UK, Germany. But I'm quite proud to share with you that we've also opened operations in South Africa. We have additional business coming up in Latin America that will soon be announced, and other parts of the Middle East. Myself, I've been an entrepreneur for the past 33 years. So I've lived in the Valley. I've foregone a paycheck for quite a long time in order to pay my employees. And I have a lot of experiences that I'd like to share and hopefully participate in some of the change that Kuwait is bringing to entrepreneurship. The day is going to come when any entrepreneur in this country can instantiate a company as fast as they can type on the keyboard. And it won't take you 100,000 KD to capitalize the business. Maybe you should do it with 1 KD. So we hope to be part of that change, and I'm quite happy to be here.
Great. First one to you, Ed. The fund today is a national movement or national project, and there's Brad Feld, who's the founder of Techstars, always been talking a lot about the networks versus hierarchies, and the approach and the idea of working stuff top down versus bottom up. And top down as in putting the structures, putting the infrastructure, putting the systems, or bottom up, allowing the communities to form and really bubble up. So how do you balance the two? How do you balance the two, specifically when there isn't no community that exists, or at least no joint community that exists? How do you see that happen in the case of Boulder, and how can this be applied in Kuwait?
That's a really great question. Thank you for asking it. That's one of the toughest conversations in building an ecosystem. What we've seen is that entrepreneurs have to take the lead in beginning to build out that ecosystem. And I think I've seen it here in Kuwait already. Entrepreneurs succeed in Kuwait despite the hurdles that they have to cross with government regulation. That's the beginning of the start. I think what governments can do is to get out of the way. Trust that your greatest resource, which is your people, and the mental capacity and the passionate energy that they bring, they will find a way to succeed. So provide the basic infrastructure to start a company, create multiple shares of stock, whatever the mechanism is, and get out of the way. You'd be surprised what a passionate entrepreneur can do if they've got just the basic tools to run with.
So in summary, it's about allowing the entrepreneurs themselves to lead the movement with a helping hand from the government.
Exactly. And it is about creating a network and a community, not a hierarchy. Hierarchies have a rigidness to them that don't lend themselves well to the creative economy. And the creative economy is what we're talking about here.
Okay. Ignacio, talking about governments and the role of governments, and you've done some thinking about that. Where do you see the role of government is needed, and where do you see it not as much needed? And where should they step in, where should they step out?
I think it's another great question, not an easy one, especially this forum. But let me try to give you my views. If I were an extreme liberal economist, I could say that the role of government should be none. Get out of the way, do not bother, the ecosystem. As I am not that extreme, I am much more a reasonable liberal, I think that the answer depends on the geography. Most of the liberal economies in the world do have agencies to foster things like entrepreneurship or SMEs. Think about the US, think about the SBA, which has a huge budget to foster the development, growth and support of SMEs, and we will see why. So even the most liberal economies are supporting their entrepreneurs and their SMEs. So other economies that are a bit behind in creating this ecosystem, in developing the awareness, do need definitely a major involvement from the government, especially at the beginning, when the ecosystem is being built. And you might think about a few geographies around the MENA region that are in this case, in which there are needs of diversification, there are some economic risk, oil dependence and some others, and the governments are stepping ahead and putting together measures. One, to create entrepreneurs in the system. Second, to make those entrepreneurs scale up, as Fadi was mentioning before. So I believe that in this case, the role of the government should be major at the beginning, and probably, be a little smaller once the ecosystem has been developed. What things they need to do? I was taking some notes before. Definitely the first investment is on awareness. We need to educate people about the options, the advantages, and the opportunities that becoming an entrepreneur might mean to his or her career. And also the risk, of course. We need to work on or governments need to work on regulations. We were listening this morning to the UK former ambassador. He was mentioning that in 1 week, a company set up in the UK. That is not even enough. And we need to get to systems in which in 24 hours, 48 hours, and we are in the digital era, companies need to be set up. Governments need to support financing and the creation of a healthy private financial ecosystem. Definitely training, education. This is key, and I'm not talking here only about training entrepreneurs. I'm talking about going to high schools and start training kids. And train the trainers so from an early age, kids understand that they have several options in their careers and not only working for a government or a large organization. So, in summary, in some economies, the role of the government still needs to be major.
So it's almost like saying when the ecosystem is an infant, the government should nurture this infant until they reach their teenager years and then step out. As you have a kid, you don't let your baby grow on their own. You nurture them until they're 18 years and then you step out. So it's actually working a lot to be able to step out. In certain economies you can't, in certain economies you can. Is that correct, more or less?
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, depends on the level of development of if we're talking here about fostering entrepreneurship and SMEs, I mean, how healthy is the ecosystem? Or is there any ecosystem? Because in some countries there is no ecosystem. So we need to create the ecosystem, nurture the ecosystem, and maybe at some point governments need to step behind and leave it on the hands of the private initiative. This is the ideal, but
have you seen governments do it well, like other governments that you've seen in the world that have been able to set the countries on the right path?
I think there are a few examples. I mean, US is a good one. Finland started investing heavily in developing a knowledge economy ecosystem. And once the ecosystem was healthier, they stepped back and started restricting the investment. I mean, at the end, it's also a taxpayer thing. It's like, I mean, do I want my money, the money I'm giving to the government through taxes, to be devoted to this? Or do I want it to be devoted to some other things? So at the end, this government support in a liberal economy cannot last forever. Yeah. And there are always priorities. We never thought 7 years ago that we were going to go through this deep economic crisis. You guys probably never thought that the oil was going to be today around $40. So there are some things in which governments also need to adapt the private flexibility and be able to move quick and fast.
Marco, we were talking before we went on this panel, and we were telling me about some of the things you see needed beyond money, beyond just capital. Like, it's not just enough to throw money at the problem, something else is needed. Can you touch more about that and tell us your views on what is needed beyond just the money?
Yes, this is indeed a key question, and we deal with it also in the discussion we have previously, because for sure money is an issue, and some people are interested to understand also in this case of the fund how money are delivered, how is the management, how are the mechanisms, and this is of course very important. But in my opinion, the building of culture is the most important factor we have to deal with, and for sure, for example. The issue is that we are not talking about how to help a single entrepreneur to solve his or her specific problems, but we have to build a general and an overall system in order to allow the change. And this is the key factor and the key issues. In our specific sector, for example, we are talking about ideas.
Which is the creative industries.
Yes, creative industries. So we are talking about ideas, and ideas are all over, all around. So the key issue is to understand how to translate ideas in fact and in capacity to allow the change. And this is a cultural factor to be implemented as important and as a key issues before having other discussions that are of course important, that are of course necessary in order to understand how technically we can proceed. But we have to build in a system that necessarily have to start from some basic issues in terms of cultural behavior. In that sense, for example, I totally understand with Ignacio when he talked about awareness. So awareness should be, for example, the first issue we will deal in our component of the program, because we have to understand and we have to stimulate and to improve the actual capacity in order to develop the overall sector and to favorize the change.
So you talked about culture and capacity building.
Yeah.
Capacity building for you, Farhan, you're in the business of training people, entrepreneurs or non-entrepreneurs. What type of skill set do you see that is in general missing in entrepreneurs? Some of the common traits of missing elements in entrepreneurs in the region, in Kuwait in particular, that you plan to focus on?
Excellent question. When we talk about capacity building, we talk about two dimensions. One dimension has to do with the management and business skills. We're talking about your capability to manage, manage and organize your business. The other dimension will be the mindset. So the mindset is related to the behavioral aspect. So if you study the entrepreneurs in the region and anywhere, you're going to find certain qualities in these entrepreneurs. So risk-taking, the ability to lead, the ability to network, being creative, the persistence. So this has to do with the behavioral side, and we cover this as part of the training. The other side, which is again the capabilities, management and business capabilities, we focus on the ability to, for example, identify opportunities. When we look in each country in the Middle East, you're going to find issues and problems everywhere. The healthcare sector, education sector, government services. These are opportunities for these entrepreneurs to go and try to solve these problems in an innovative manner. So the ability to identify opportunities, the ability to build business models. So you have a problem, you're trying to solve the problem. How you can build a sustainable business based on the product or service you're proposing. So testing, building, designing, and testing and validating business models. How to, for example, put together a team and how to lead the team and how to focus on HR-related issues. Financials, this is a big issue we see. The ability to plan for your business, the ability to manage the cash flow for the business. All these critical issues are, unfortunately, a lot of the entrepreneurs, they're good in one area, but sometimes they need support and help in other areas. So the entrepreneur could be an excellent marketer, but when it comes to managing human resources or, again, managing finance, you're going to find some issues. So the idea from any training program is to build a well-rounded, let's say, capabilities, to focus on the internal environment, to focus on the external environment, to manage the relationship with the different stakeholders. So you have your employees, you have your clients, you have your investors, you have your partners.
And your focus in the training program is on, at this point, is on idea stage entrepreneurs, helping them formulate their thoughts into reality. Am I correct?
Exactly. It starts with identifying a certain opportunity, then building a business model, then going and trying to validate the business model. So you need to make sure that, number one, you understand the problem. Number two, you have a good solution, and the solution actually fits the problem or solves the problem. After you do what we call concept analysis and development, you move to the business planning part. So you go and you put a plan how you're going to manage the business in different functional areas: HR, finance, product development, operation, etc.
Research by our team at WAMDA showed that entrepreneurs, we surveyed 1,000 entrepreneurs, and those who had a mentor had 3 times the chances of landing an angel funding, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, 4 times more the chances of landing a corporate deal. Or actually, they had, not chances, they did that. At the core of Techstars is a mentorship program. Tell us more about the importance of mentorship and how you plan on building it here in Kuwait, and the nuances, if you see any, between Kuwait and other markets.
So you're correct. The Techstars program is very much predicated on mentors. If I think back to the 15 companies that I've started, if I could have had access to more mentors back then, and this was 33 years ago, I would have had different outcomes, I believe. So I can't stress mentors enough, simply because that is how you build a network. That's the beginning of your network. Your network will typically open you up to sources of talent, to clients, as well as finance opportunities. So here in Kuwait, I believe there are mentors out there today. They've just not been adequately harnessed. And part of our task with the National Fund is to identify who are those mentors, and can they get involved, and can they get involved with this concept of giving first without expecting anything in return. Because I think an entrepreneur is already starving to begin with to get their business off the ground. So when they take on mentorship, they want specific help around thinking through their business model, thinking through their financing plan, thinking through their staffing requirements. And if you provide that help freely, which I think is our responsibility as past entrepreneurs ourselves, that has a way of coming back and paying off later on. But we are going to be actively recruiting mentors in the Kuwait community, as well as in the region itself. So if we open up the opportunities here to the outside, I think entrepreneurs will also have the ability to dream about how they can actually grow their companies pan-regionally.
Absolutely. On that point, Ignacio, how, you've talked in the interview actually on WAMDA in Beirut about Lebanon being quite a small market and the need for looking beyond your market. Similarly, Kuwait is also a small market. What are the tips you think entrepreneurs should abide by to really think global from day one? What tricks, what things they can do to not be constrained with this trap of being in a small market?
Well, I think this is something that was also introduced by Fadi a while ago. Scale. I mean, how do we achieve scale, especially when we are operating in small markets? Markets might be small. Ideas don't need to be small. So this is one of the correlations here. I was also discussing during a break with some of you about innovation versus imitation, and I think you were going to introduce it. So let me put all in the same package. You can answer two in one. Yeah, go ahead. Save some time from the panel. So sometimes when we are, let me first launch a question. No need to answer. I mean, who is winning the war? Imitators or innovators? Think about countries. Then take the US on one side, take China on the other hand. Looks like in the last few years, China was sort of winning this war. Okay, they were able to identify existing business models, adapt it a little bit to their reality, and from there, move the model abroad, worldwide. Someone says, copy, or improve sometimes. So this is a little
says, copy, paste, innovate.
Copy, paste, adapt, innovate. So, I mean, both business models might work. Now, when thinking about scaling up and thinking about exploring possibilities outside a small economy or a small market, and a market is nothing else than the number of potential buyers I do have out there. So if we believe that by starting up our business here in Kuwait, we only have access to 4 million potential buyers, we're completely wrong. I mean, we are setting up barriers in front of our business. So the opposite is like, how many customers can I find in this industry? In my country, in the region, worldwide. What does it take then to bring this business model to go across the barriers? And the answer is very related to some of the missions or the activities of the goals that the Kuwait National Fund is addressing. This is about having the right people to build business model that can be scale up and growth. Do we have these? Can we attract enough graduates from top American schools to come back to the country and work for a startup? We know the answer today. Let's see in the future. Do we have enough access to funding to make our model not only innovative, but scalable? So access to talent again, but this is exactly what Fabi was mentioning, and I want to repeat that. How do we achieve this? And we're thinking about, we can use accelerators, we can use training programs, we can use mentors, we can combine a lot of tools. But if we don't have the right ecosystem, it's very difficult that our entrepreneurs start thinking beyond barriers and frontiers.
Yeah. I think we're going to have to cut it short, but before we finish the panel, which is a chance for you to say your last comments as well, or something to answer my questions, which would be, if you had a magic wand, if you were a magician, and you had only one wish, a tangible wish, not abstract, what would it be for the Kuwaiti ecosystem? And we'll start with you, Farhan.
My wish will not be only for Kuwait.
Let's say we're just focusing on Kuwait.
My wish will be for the Middle East. We have been talking about entrepreneurship in the Middle East for over, I would say, 25 years. Actually, the first incubator was established in Jordan, late 80s. So we've done a lot of value creation activities. Hundreds of millions and billions of dollars have been invested in training, in mentoring, in incubation, in seed funding, in loans, in conferences. So we have a plenty of value creation activities. Our issue in the region is value capture. So we've invested billions of dollars in entrepreneurship programs. What's the real impact? What's the value of the products and services and companies that was established? So my wish is to increase conversion from value creation into value capture. And in order to do this, you need to have, a healthy, vibrant ecosystem in each country, and to have a regional ecosystem allowing product and services and people to move from one country to another. Maybe, and I hope and I think it might happen, the fund will be, the Kuwaiti Fund, the National Kuwaiti Fund, will be such mini ecosystem providing at least most of the needed services. But this will need also the collaboration of government, private sector, entrepreneurs, investors, because the fund can provide 60-70% of the needed services, but without real collaboration between different organizations, we will stick with value creation.
So value capture is your wish.
Value capture, yeah.
Marco.
Yeah, thanks. Okay, my wish for this specific phase should be to have plenty of application in the next phase and in the next period. That should mean that the assumption of the fund, the assumption we collaborate to define are correct, and so we interpreted correctly the needs and the situation and the context of the country. We talked about scaling up and some different factors in terms of new opportunities. I think that in our sector, in the creative industry sector, this is very, very important, and this should be the most important success factor. So in order to help people to think globally and basing and starting from her specificity of the country. So this should be our wish.
So widen the top of the funnel in the application. Ed, your wish, magician.
I've been thinking about this since you planted the seed in my head. My wish is to have every entrepreneur in Kuwait and in the region dream big, dare yourself to dream big, and fail fast, be able to iterate quickly. So that's the wish. All of the other tools that are necessary to feed that dream are there. But without the entrepreneur, it's just a pile of money.
It's a mindset.
The mindset.
So your wish is go in the brains of all entrepreneurs and give them the right mindset.
Dream big, fail fast, keep after it. Don't ever call it quits.
Last wish for you, Ignacio.
Shortly, to be able to create a couple of hundreds of what we call gazelles. Gazelle was something described in late 80s by an author, Dave Birch, and it relates to high-growth companies. Those high-growth companies are only between 3 and 4% of every out of 100 companies launched in a healthy ecosystem, US or Europe, 3 or 4% only make it to being gazelles. But those create 70% of jobs in these economies and represent a large percentage of growth in national product. So this could be my desire, that the National Fund is able to create a lot of gazelles, and we see the gazelles running all over the area.
Cool. Thank you very much for waiting until and staying with us until the end. You heard the 4 wishes. Hopefully the fund can actually get those 4 wishes true. Thank you very much. And don't forget, if you sign up for tomorrow for Mix and Mentor, we have a mentorship program tomorrow all day long at Al Shahid Park. And in the meantime, keep reading the stories on Nuwait. Thank you very much.